Okay, I think we can go ahead and get started. Welcome everybody again to our Fresno CSC meeting. We'll first start by setting up our interpretation slides before we go into any material. So at this time, I would like to invite Diana from Lingüística to provide those instructions.
Thank you, Liz. Buenas tardes a todos. Bienvenidos a su junta. El día de hoy tenemos el servicio de interpretación disponible para aquellas personas que lo requieran. Si es que se están conectando desde una computadora, en la parte de abajo del menú del Zoom van a ver un icono que dice interpretación. Así que le hacemos clic a ese icono y luego seleccionamos el idioma español y seleccionamos silenciar el audio original para que puedan escuchar una sola voz, la interpretación del inglés al español. Y si se están conectando desde una tableta o desde su dispositivo móvil, pueden tocar su pantalla y buscar la opción de los 3 puntos y luego suben y buscamos la opción que dice interpretación de idiomas o language interpretation. Seleccionamos nuevamente el español y silenciar el audio original. Y al final le damos a la opción que dice finalizado, terminado o listo. Si tienen alguna duda o algún problema para encontrar las opciones, nos lo hacen saber por el chat, por favor. Ahora voy a dar las mismas instrucciones, pero en inglés. Hello, everyone. Today we'll have interpretation available for those who need it. If you're joining from a computer, at the bottom of the Zoom menu, you will see a word-like icon that says interpretation. You can select that and then select English. And if you're joining from a tablet or your phone, you can tap your screen, select the 3 dots, then you will find the option that says language interpretation. You will select English, and at the end, you will select the option finish or done. And if you have any issues, please let us know in the chat. Thank you. Gracias.
This is Liz. Thank you so much, Diana, for those instructions. I will just pause for one moment to make sure that the interpretation is set up and everybody's in the channel before getting started. So maybe if I can get a thumbs up that folks are in the Spanish channel. Okay, thank you. So we will move forward in our housekeeping slides. Here are the naming conventions. We take the time to remind folks of these at every meeting because it helps with our attendance tracking and our stipend distribution process. So if you are a member of the CSC, we do ask that you indicate that in your Zoom name with the letters CSC. And then if you are also a resident, please also include the letter R. For everyone else in the meeting, if you are representing an agency, please also include that in your Zoom name. And if you are joining as a member of the public, please also include the letter P in your name. And we will welcome your comments at designated points throughout the meeting. Here we have our virtual meeting etiquette. We ask for folks to stay muted unless you are speaking. And if you are calling on the phone, you can mute by pressing *6. If you have a question or a comment at any time, we also ask that you raise your Zoom hand. And if you are on the phone, you can do that by pressing *9. And then a reminder to residents in the stipend program to stay on for at least 75% of tonight's meeting. And here we have a reminder of our group agreements. So everyone in this space continues to commit to these group agreements by joining. And this includes seeking common ground, focusing on solutions, opportunities, and productive dialogue, and respectfully challenging ideas and outcomes over individuals so that we can seek common ground. And we're doing this all so that we can work together for the ongoing implementation of AB 617. Just want to thank you all for your commitment to upholding these agreements and our conversations so that we can maximize our limited time together. On this slide, you have the agenda for this evening. So we'll have our welcome and introductions, then spend some time reviewing the action items, Then we'll have our annual report update. And then we'll move to the non-incentive CERP measure strategic planning item. And then we'll wrap up the meeting with standing updates, and then next steps and agenda setting before our final public comment. And I'll stop sharing my screen for a moment and just want to welcome everybody again to our Fresno Community Steering Committee. This is the 70th meeting. And my name is Liz, one of your facilitators from Harder & Company, joined here tonight by my co-facilitator, Amy. We want to thank everybody who is joining for your flexibility, coming to our rescheduled meeting that's a little later than our usual time. As we open tonight's meeting, we want to recognize all of the work and just the long road that the Fresno CSC has come along, and all of the work that you have done over the last 5 or so years and these 70 meetings, while also recognizing that there's still, of course, more work to be done. So tonight's meeting, as you saw with the agenda, we'll have some time to recognize the wins and the accomplishments that have happened, and still recognizing and making space to strategize and also talk through what's left and where to go from here. It continues to be hard work, of course, and again, we want to thank you all for continuing to show up in this space with a willingness to listen, understand, and collaborate to keep this momentum going as we work towards systemic change. So thank you all for being here. And so we'll keep moving through our welcome and introductions. And at this time, I'll invite Ryan to open us up.
Thank you so much, Liz. Thank you, everyone. Happy to be here tonight with all of you. I see we have a good group here. I'm excited to have a conversation with you about the annual report and the non-incentive CERP measure, the strategic planning for the future, and yeah, just looking forward to having a good conversation with everyone. So, buenas noches a todos.
Thank you, Ryan. And this is Liz again. So we can continue to move through what we have on the agenda for tonight. And next up, we have our action item tracker follow-up. So as most of you know, we do take the time at every meeting to review the action items, to make sure that everyone is able to keep track of all of the progress being made towards your suggestions. And so Nancy is going to walk through the tracker, and there will be time for folks to ask questions for clarification, and anything that can't be quickly answered tonight, we will note down to come back to at another meeting. And so I will pass it to you, Nancy, to get us started. Thank you.
This is Nancy. Thank you so much, Liz. And thank you everybody for joining us tonight. Can you believe it that we are finishing up 2024 and going to be entering a new year soon? Time just is flying by. And so I will be dropping down the action items link. So if you want to follow along, please do so. And then I will be sharing my screen right now. All right, can everybody see that? I see some head nods, thumbs up, thank you. All right, so I'm going to be going over the action items, and this is just a routine check-in on some of the action items that have come out of previous meetings. Particularly, these are focused on the previous, or these action items are focused from the previous meeting. And so let's get started. So we have a few action items to go through. One of them is going to be from the in progress. And so action item 69.1, this is in regards to providing the CSC with a list of truck companies operating in the South Central Fresno boundary and ones that potentially qualify for CERP funding. And so we are following up on this request, and we'll share with the CSC when we have the list available to you all. Action item 69.2, Air District to meet with charter schools and nonprofits to discuss their participation in school air filtration and public fleet vehicle measure. And so we continue to follow up with charter schools in the boundary regarding air filtration in public fleet. I have been following up with a few schools, charter schools in the boundary, and we do have some interest, particularly from Du Bois Academy. And so we will continue to follow up with them and provide you with any additional updates as we receive them. Action item 69.3. The CSC would like to revisit land use issues and develop a process. And so regarding any land use questions, or if you want to know more about that, a perfect time to ask would be during standing updates. And so we do have a City of Fresno representative later on that will be providing information regarding the truck study, or and then just feel free to ask any additional questions there. Moving forward to action item 69.5, the City of Fresno will present an updated community engagement plan to the CSC at an upcoming meeting. And so the Air District continues to work with the City of Fresno to share progress and updates on truck reroute study with the CSC. And as we continue to learn more about the truck reroute study, we will share that information with you all. Action item 69.6, the CSC would like to discuss the updated statewide PM 2.5 9 microgram standard. And so the district will be providing an update on the PM 2.5 standard during standing updates. And so we will be providing you with a quick little update today. And so the next action items will be from the completed section. And action item 69.4, the Air District will update the CSC when ready to send out the 20% off coupon for replacement air filters. And so prior to the committee receiving an email on November 6th with coupon details, we did go ahead and send Clean Air Room participants this information as well. So they were emailed and mailed out information regarding the 20% off coupon. If you did not receive it or would like it again, please let me know. You can also just drop your requests in the comments, and I will go ahead and send this out to you. And so the last action item, 69.7, the Air District will email a list of completed CERP measures to the Fresno CSC. And so we did go ahead and send an email on November 12th with the breakdown and additional details on completed CERP measures. And so that concludes the action items. And I did want to go ahead and just share a little section that was created. So this is regarding following up with appropriate agencies where we will be sharing feedback or questions from the CSC. And so this is just another section that was added. So if you want to go ahead and review that at your own time, please do so. If you have any questions, feel free to contact me, or so we can discuss any questions that you have. And then I do see a hand from Dr. Curry.
Yes, thank you. I have a question about item 69.3. And the way that it's written, it is asking about revising the land use subcommittee. And so I would be in favor of that. And I wanted to identify that it is a request to revive the land use subcommittee. So in addition to any additional updates that people want to share, I still think it's appropriate to revive the land use subcommittee. So I'm suggesting that.
Thank you. Ryan, would you like to add anything to that?
No. We'll take it as we'll add that to the action item. Thanks.
Perfect. Do we have any other questions? And feel free to just drop in any,
I'm sorry. Just to be clear, the recommendation or the concern from last meeting and the request was that we actually revive the land use subcommittee. So I'm not sure what the next quote action would be. but whether or not it's that the body has a discussion about the value of revising that committee. But I think we've been talking about it for the last 5 years. So I don't think it's going anywhere in terms of us not being concerned about it. So my request or my suggestion is that we hold the body or do whatever our process is and have a discussion about whether or not we want to revise it. But I don't want to see it come back next time with a similar response.
Yeah, I think I want to piggyback on what Dr. Curry is saying. I think there's been a significant failure by staff. And I think this is something that we've reiterated time and time again, and there's been an inability to act on it or a resistance to act on it. And so I think as the resident advisory board members, there's a little bit of a confusion and bewilderment around why there's such a resistance to it. And why there's so much inaction from staff.
Yeah, I'd be happy to respond to that, Eric. So kind of going back to the roots of where that subcommittee came from. And it was really centered around trying to develop a process to help get the steering committees more informed of the specific projects that were taking place within the boundaries of Fresno, specifically within the AB 617. At the time, we were able, we were working on a MOU or a letter of understanding with the city, and they were fully engaging with us. At the point where a letter was put together, the steering committee voted not to move forward with it. And at that point, the city had been working to come up with a better process to inform steering committee members of projects. At the same time, they were meeting with us. After they developed a email notification process that every time there's a new project that goes out to notice, it's also being sent out to the listserv. So anybody that wants to take part in that can. And it includes contact information, phone numbers, email addresses for people, including phone numbers for people who don't speak, their first language is not English, to contact, engage in those processes. The issue is, and it's been, I've repeated the same thing, the city is no longer willing to participate in a land use subcommittee. And so them being and the reason for that is because they developed this other process. They want residents and everybody else to participate in their existing processes. So that way, when they're engaging, everybody's, engaging in the same manner.
Yeah, I'm really speaking to the importance of AB 617 being responsive to what community has spoken about for the last 5 years. And so I hear what you're saying, that the city is not interested in engaging, but this is not really about asking the city to engage. This is the AB 617, hearing what residents and families are saying as the top priority and being responsive to that. So I'm not surprised the city says they don't want to engage, but this is not about them. This is about AB 617 and whether or not we're being respectful of what the priorities are for this committee.
So I guess the thing that I don't know where to take this, Dr. Curry, is without the city, participating in it. I don't know what topics for discussion, what would be put out, what would be agendized, what would be discussed.
Well, one topic would be the health equity issues that are always associated with land use. And so we have offered people air filtrations as a matter of improving their health and decreasing the pollution burden for them in their own homes. And so there's a health equity issue that the SERB speaks to. So I see this as really connected to that. And again, it just makes sense to me that we would, as a committee, if that's the priority that residents are most concerned about, that we would not leave that off the table, but that we would actually address it.
Okay.
I believe that other cities other regions have actually included a land use subcommittee as well. So this is not, something that is a unicorn. It's something that's happened other places. But again, because we keep discussing land use and its importance and its connection to health, I don't see how we can leave it out.
Okay. So maybe what we can do then is we can set up a time separately with, whoever is interested in having a 15, 20-minute conversation about what topics would be discussed at that type of meeting. And then, we can use that as a starting point.
Yeah, I think I would also add that I think the subcommittee allows us as a formal entity that has a legal obligation um, to help advise the needs of the SERP specific to land use and health equity that I just don't think has been accomplished by staff in the last 5 years. And there's been significant delays with meeting several goals that have been outlined in the SERP. And I think I've heard it from staff in the past that there's just been, a failure by staff and they're looking to correct the action. But I think the course correction has been obsolete with our advisory role. And so I think there would be greater accountability with moving this subcommittee forward.
This is Liz. I think this was really an important discussion. And I see one more hand up from Natalie. Did you have a separate point or was it related to the land use subcommittee?
Yeah, also related to the land use subcommittee, just because it has, like, I've only been on the CSC for maybe 2 years, but I've noticed that it's an agenda item, that it's there, but I don't really see any actions moving forward in terms of scheduling an actual meeting. And even though the city doesn't want to get involved, I think it's important for CSC members to stay up to date regarding like the city's land use decisions, because the city, is wants to push forward, the South Central specific plan, which plans to further industrialize South Fresno. How is that going to affect Southeast and Southwest and all the many residents that live there when it is an AB 617 community? So I would just like to see like an actual date planned for the land use subcommittee. And, I feel like in the future, maybe we can leverage that land use subcommittee to push the city to actually meet with us and give us those updates like they should be doing.
Thank you. And Lily, go ahead.
Yeah, hi, thank you. I just wanted to volunteer and ask for if I could participate if this subcommittee does come back into fruition. In other communities, I do offer technical support, and I do recognize how traffic and land use contributes to emission sources, and as the toxicologist to try to help with understanding the exposures from different sources and the health effects that might be associated and not yet well demonstrated with science. I think I can add capacity to this space. So if welcomed, I would participate. Thank you.
Thank you, Lily. This is Liz, and it does sound like we can at least have an action item to schedule a meeting with folks who are interested in this in the CSC to have that initial conversation to see what can we actually discuss and talk about in that land use subcommittee, just given the restrictions and bureaucratic limitations that Ryan is bringing up, that there really is so much that certain agencies can do without that collaboration. But really, as we're hearing, a big first step is just getting folks to the table and talking so that we can come to that shared understanding. So we will have that action item noted down. and do appreciate folks elevating that tonight and taking some time to talk through it. And Ryan, I see you're unmuted. Did you want to add anything? Okay. So any other questions about other action items that were shared? Knowing we'll come back to the land use. So anything else about action items before we continue? Okay. Okay, so we can transition to the annual report update. And again, this is likely familiar to those who have been a part of AB 617 for more than this past year. Just as a reminder, the annual report is a reflection of all of the work the CSC and agencies have engaged in and made progress towards. And this is something the Air District will submit to CARB. Tonight, you'll be asked to reflect on what is being shared and whether the report aligns with how you have experienced the work over the past year. And you will see that the report is presented a little differently this year through what is called a story map. And this is just a more visually engaging way to report and communicate information like this. And so at this time, I am happy to pass it to Ryan to walk us through the annual report and open up that space for some feedback. Take it away.
All right, thanks. Share my screen. Appreciate everybody's patience with me as I always slightly struggle with this. All right, can everybody see my screen? All right, excellent. So as with all documents, we have this in both English and in Spanish. I'll try to go through the Spanish version. I see we have quite a few Spanish-speaking members tonight. Not only do we have this, we're going over this at a high level. I'm going to kind of break it down. We are also going to be sending hard copies of this annual report to everybody. So we're not just asking for feedback tonight only. We definitely want to make sure that everybody has an opportunity to also review the materials in case there's anything that they may miss tonight that they still want to provide comment on. And so one of the things that we always go back and we reflect on and listen to community steering committee members, not only in Fresno, but across all the regions. And one of the things that we've heard quite often was this report was typically about 40 pages per community. It was a lot of information, and some of the feedback that we got was to try to find a way to make it more meaningful, make it more visual, and make it more relatable and understandable. And so this was definitely our effort to do that, and look forward to hearing from you if what your thoughts are on this kind of new way of going about it. All right, move my chat box over. And I'll flip. I see a comment from Kimberly. I will flip back and forth between the presentations so people can see it in both formats. But I'm just going to go through kind of what's in here. I'm not going to read the specific words, from the presentation. But similar to all of our the annual reports that have been done in the past, there's always the introductory paragraph about AB 617, what the program does, what its roots and where it came from and how it's benefiting communities. In addition to that, we actually went through and put down a timeline of the program itself and how each of the individual communities were brought in into the program. And then we go into a little bit about where the program is today. We incorporate a lot more visuals in this presentation. Here we have the image of the valley overall and the 4 separate communities that have been selected and are going through the AB 617 process throughout the valley. From Stockton, Fresno, Shafter, and then Arvin Lamont. And then there's also going to be a discussion about the overall benefits of the program that are happening across the valley. Transition and kind of go through the other one. So just kind of a synopsis of the program for Fresno specifically, a little bit more details of the kind of the background of the Fresno process, working together on developing the community emission reduction program, the community air monitoring program, the incentive investments within the community, and how it's being implemented there. And so this is kind of where we're really seeing the difference in the presentation. So what we went, versus kind of going through every single measure and having a discussion about it, we decided to really focus in on things that are underway and we're seeing real-time benefits in the community as a result of those. And so the first one is the tree planting. And, I see Naimeen and Natalie here from CCEJN who, have been partnering with Tree Fresno, on this really, great and important measure. And so we'll want to incorporate more of the visual images from these events and, see the people that are benefiting from this. This was a great event at Edison Computech Middle School. It was a planting where 60 trees were initially planted, and it's an ongoing where they're going to continue to be planting trees at that location. It was a great event because there were students there from the school, residents there from the surrounding area. There were, really appreciate Air District staff that participated in addition to CCEJN and Tree Fresno and others. Definitely near and dear to my heart. That's where I went to middle school, and seeing the changes that are happening there are very exciting. One of the things I really appreciate is just the youth that are involved, and getting to see firsthand and how they can make a change in their community and for the betterment of everybody. And so there's a quote from Naimeen here about the program and how important it is. The second one was bringing cleaner cars to the community, and really happy that we have been able to start that process. We've had quite a few events now within the community. They're always heavily attended, and based on the first couple, the initial allocation was rapidly went through. So much so that when we brought it back to you, you recommended adding more money to this, and so we're still seeing really high demand, and the money is going quickly. So it's a very good thing for the community, getting people to transition away from older vehicles, gas vehicles, to electric and hybrid type vehicles is a lot of emission reductions, especially right there where people are living and kids are playing. So this is one of the events held in the community. And this is a member of the organization that's helping to run it, Valley Can, working with the resident members. They bring computers, they bring other devices to help people and understanding, whether their vehicle qualifies, and if so, how they can help them get in, submit their application to us and get into a newer, cleaner vehicle. That's the district's very own Zong, who will be talking later today about outreach, helping people out at one of the events. I can't remember if it was this one or not, but one of the events, I think there was almost 100 people that attended it. And it's just, one of the examples of how much interest there is. I definitely, growing up, with a car that didn't run well, and you never knew if it was gonna, die on us. I can't remember the times growing up, how many times I had to walk home. Vehicle security is important. Being able to reliably get to places, maybe keeping a job or those types of situations. So, I mean, that's really what we're talking about with a program like this. There's been a lot of work that's been done on the South Central truck reroute, and I know there's still a lot more work that is still going to take place, but we definitely wanted to highlight the fact that it's moving forward, that the health study has been completed, that it's helping inform recommendations for where we can remove trucks from where people are living. And I see Kimberly, you have your hand up.
Yes, I just have a couple of questions about the EV event that has taken place. Were residents concerned about any infrastructure around their neighborhood, or the lack of infrastructure, like charging stations?
Not that we received that feedback. I haven't heard any feedback of that nature. A lot of times these we offer, the program also includes the opportunity to, put additional infrastructure in homes or, things of that nature. But I haven't heard that feedback. That's definitely something I'll ask about though.
I do know that PG&E gives some type of incentive for charging at your house. Do you know if they have raised it, like put more money towards that? Because I know from CCAC's point of view, they were happy to have that, but still it wasn't enough because low income residents spend about 70 to 80% of their income on bills and housing and things like that. So I know that was a concern when we were doing this program, as well as maintaining the monthly payment, establishing relationships with dealerships, having a little bit more money towards the down payment. So just wondering how that is going.
Yeah, that's a good question. Thankfully, we're here where PG&E is, and they do still have a lot of additional funding for programs to support EVs, especially geared towards low income individuals. So in addition to if you meet certain qualifications, you can get reductions in your electric bills. If you do have an electric vehicle, there are some additional opportunities that you can contact PG&E, and they can help you figure out which plan is best for you and is going to save you the most money. In addition to that, even just for the purchase of vehicles, PG&E offers an additional $4,000 to people that are looking to transition to go get into an electric vehicle. So it's being in the area of PG&E, and they are definitely looking to help people make this transition and hopefully at the end of the day, save them money.
So is it a tier step system program, depending on the amount of income you make in a yearly basis, your salary, in order for you to receive a good enough incentive to charge at home?
I won't pretend I know all the different makeup levels. Kimberly, I look at when I was doing the research on how residents can benefit, it's definitely very complex. I mean, they have so many different programs and that people can sign up for depending on how they use electricity and what their incomes are. I always recommend, and this is probably something that Valley can definitely help with as well. And I know we have Stephanie Hitchman here as well from our grants department. She may be better able to answer that question than me.
All right, thank you.
Yeah. But we can look into that and then send out an email to everybody with additional information. The next one is, and Zong will definitely talk more about this during the next presentation where we go over the CERT measure updates. But one of the real focuses and commitments, and we heard from the steering committee, one of the areas we definitely need to be focusing on is the education and make the awareness of the air quality challenges, the opportunities that exist within the community. And going to schools is definitely one of the most important. Teaching the children, teaching their parents, teaching the educators, teaching the administration on ways that collectively we can all work together to really protect the health of our children. And so one of the big things that we were doing was going out and Zong and the outreach team were at the end of school days, in the beginning of school days, being there during drop-off and engaging with parents and providing them packets of information in English and in Spanish about all the different programs and services that the district has to offer to them. Not just incentives, but about our enforcement programs and the complaints and program and things like that as well. So just really trying to do our best to help educate everybody. And so these are all these events. We get a lot of people asking a lot of questions. We have different types of things to draw people in, whether it's a flying disc with information about the district's programs, or fans, or you name it. They explore all different ways in order to engage and interact with people and draw them in. They would often take examples of the air filters that they are eligible to receive for free, and helping them to sign up for those as well. And one of the last things we highlighted was definitely the opportunity to get together in person. And I appreciate Natalie, raising this up and saying that we need to find ways to get together in person more often. And so we did highlight the in-person event and the discussion that we had at that meeting. So some of the other things, one of the reasons why we kind of moved away from the older format is because we do have the CERP tracker itself. And this is, once again, in English and in Spanish. But it gives you a breakdown of where every one of the measures is at. This, in terms of incentive measures, where we are with spending funding, in terms of the inspections, how many additional inspections we've done, things like that. This is all captured in this CERP tracker. And so, this is, by doing this format, we're able to include these links so that people can just, easily kind of transition into those other documents and see that other information. And this is not something new. It's something that we've shared with everybody, but this is what it's about. And it's about getting those emission reductions, which ultimately, will result in better health outcomes. But on the left, it shows you the incentive commitments. On the right, it shows what that means in terms of emission reductions and commitments that were in the community emission reduction program. And then on the far right, it's how far we are with moving towards getting those emission reductions. And so You know, 1,377 tons for the ag and business measures, and at 92% progress. You know, we're, you know, going to achieve over, you know, right now as it stands, we would get over probably like 1,100 tons of emission reductions from that one. You know, 13 tons from community and government measures. You know, and it's 78% towards that. And then residential measures, you know, expecting to get 190 tons. And for 23, that's why we keep on bringing it up and talking with you about how do we get this money into people's hands, and how do we make changes to programs like the wood burning to make it more accessible, meaning more people can use that program. And so the recommendation from the committee was to raise that funding amount to allow more people and not have to spend money out of pocket in order to get it. And so yeah, one of the things that we heard from some of the other committees when we went through this presentation was you know, the need to highlight enforcement. And so the enhanced enforcement. So we will add, before we send it out, a section that discusses that. I'm going to go over some information in the next presentation about that, and then also including a section about community air monitoring. So that summarizes the you know, the presentation. And so just at a high level, not necessarily the specific words in the presentation, but if there was you know, specific things that you know, that you're thinking that we should have highlighted that wasn't included, you know, that's definitely the feedback that we were looking to try to get tonight, so that way we could incorporate it hopefully very quickly if we can, in prior to sending out the hard copies and the links to everybody in a follow-up email. So.
Thank you, Ryan. This is Liz again. I know that was a lot to walk through, and folks probably need a moment to digest and process, so we can pause for another moment and see if anything is coming up. You know, questions like what Kimberly shared earlier. You think any context should be added to anything Ryan shared? Yeah, what is coming up for folks?
I know sometimes it's intimidating to jump out there and give the feedback, and you know, we understand too that it's hard just seeing these brief flashes. But as you think about it, you know, please you know, provide us any feedback that you may have. We are asking to try to get the feedback by December 2nd. You know, once we send out that email, so we're going to try to get it to you tomorrow or Friday at the latest, to give you as much time with it. You know, hopefully with this new format and this new style, you know, the kind of less material, you know, we're hoping that 2 weeks is enough time for everybody.
Thank you, Ryan. So just to repeat that, it sounds like we have until December 2nd to get that feedback from you all. And hopefully by tomorrow or the end of this week, the Air District will be sending that email out with what you just saw presented today, so you can take your time to go through it in more depth.
Yeah, and the hard copies should be getting there early next week at the latest.
Thank you, Ryan. So if there are no other questions or comments about the annual report, I will pass it to Amy, who will walk us through the next item. Thank you.
Thanks, Liz, and thanks, Ryan. It seems like for the next item, you're also going to be presenting. So the next item on the agenda is the non-incentive CERT measures strategic planning conversation. For this conversation, we would like to invite the CSC to continue the discussion that we started at the last meeting. and that is continue discussing and providing recommendations for strategically planning for the sustainability and evolution of the SERP. As you know, the SERP is in its 5th year of implementation. And as this 5th year winds down, the Air District is inviting everyone to provide some recommendations, hear about what has been accomplished thus far, and talk about other non-incentive measures. And so to do that, Ryan is going to lead us through a brief presentation, and then we'll have Zong from the Air District also do a small presentation on some of the outreach and community engagement strategies that have been going on recently and will continue to be happening. Ryan?
Thanks, Amy. Appreciate it. I always feel awkward. I feel like I eat up too much of the time. I'd like to be able to hand it off so you don't have to just listen to me all night long. But yeah, I'm going to share the presentation. So this is definitely, something that we often talk about, and it's not just about the incentive dollars. It's definitely about much more than that. How this program has impacted and has benefited the community. And so we definitely wanted to go through all that. I know last month we went through all the incentive measures and, presented where we're at with those and took a lot of feedback from everybody. And so now we're kind of focusing on all the measures besides those ones and kind of where we're at.
This is Nancy. Hey, Ryan. That one's going to be for Zong.
Right one. Oh,
goes out there as quickly as possible to go.
Sorry about that. Yep, Song was going to cover those slides and I accidentally closed it. So I'm going to pull it up once again. Sorry, Zong. And then I will control it for you, Zong.
Thanks. So sorry. I ran to go get some water.
It always happens that way.
Go ahead and I think I don't
This is
think
the
that's
first slide.
Is this the first slide?
This is the first slide. Yeah. The first
Okay.
one is just like the head, the title.
Got it. Okay. Thank you so much, Ryan. So my name is Zong Song, and I am part of our outreach and communications team. And this is just a quick update on some of the outreach that we've been going to. This one was our Valley Can event that we were at on October 28th. And there were a lot of folks there from throughout Fresno County, and we had a table and shared lots of information about not just the replacement program, but also our different other grant programs, as well as helped anyone that might qualify for our Clean Air Rooms program for our AB 617 community residents. We were able to help those folks go ahead and apply. We had tablets with us, and but we also had other information about our Clean Green Yard Machine program and just general information about air quality tools and resources. And just wanted to share information right there on the screen about our next event, which is on December 2nd. And that event will be coming up pretty soon. Go ahead and go to the next slide, Ryan.
Do we already have a location for that one, Zong? Or?
It's a same location.
Okay,
I think if you blow up,
pizza.
Yeah, it's right there. And it's so if you have family or friends who are thinking about going to the replacement workshop, I definitely encourage them to go early. Even though it says it starts at 5:30, people start lining up quite early. So at least go maybe 30 to an hour early. And the line goes pretty far and pretty long. But they will get to most, if not all, the folks. And so just stand in line, and you can pretty much and get your questions, or your questions answered during the event. And the Valley CAN staff are awesome, and they will help
Where
everyone.
is this event?
This one is on December 2nd. The next event
I
is
know the
coming up.
date. I don't know. I don't see the location.
Oh, it's at Mountain Mike's. It's right there by, it's not too far from Mosqueda Community Center. It's on, it's 5150, I believe, East Chavez Boulevard. So, and on the flyer, we'll drop it in the channel. Definitely encourage everyone, if they are planning to go, to bring the documents that are listed on the flyer, so that way they can go ahead, Vatican can go ahead and get all the paperwork going.
And we'll, in addition to dropping it in the chat, we'll also email it out to all the CSC members.
Next slide.
Oh. There you
go. Oh.
I went way far.
And then just this past weekend, actually our CSR team went to this event. Thank you so much. This was an event that was at, I believe it was at a church, and it's the 3rd annual Fall for Health community event that was hosted by the Black Wellness and Prosperity Center. So we also had a table there and had information about our different grant programs, as well as brochures about EV cars and not idling, as well as burning trash is illegal. So a lot of our general outreach materials, as well as tablets, again, to help folks apply for our Clean Air Rooms program if they qualified. So that was a good event also for us to share information with residents. Next slide. And then coming up will be our kind of our joint event with Valley CAN, where we will be doing our electric lawnmower exchange event, and they're pairing it with their Tune In, Tune Up event that will be this weekend. And unfortunately, all the reservations are already full. The aim is to give out at least 500 lawnmowers. And so if you had a chance to go ahead and reserve a spot, it's going to be pretty busy. I know it's going to be raining. We will have a team there to share information about all our resources available as well. So if you're planning to be there, I will be there, Nancy will be there. So we'll have a team out there. But if you have any questions about any of our other programs, please let us know. We are going to be by the food table. They're going to put us by the food table. So please stop by. If you did not get a chance, or if you have family and friends that live in the AB 617 area that want to participate in the lawnmower exchange event or lawnmower trade-in program, please let them know that they can also still apply for the program, and we can help them do that. If they want to come to the event and come to the table, we can give them the information. Next slide. And then our Clean Air Rooms program, just want to give you a quick update on that. So far, as of yesterday morning, we have a total of 2,266 applications that we've processed for the program. So we're excited that we've gotten there so far. And then we still have lots of flyers available. So if you have any family and friends that are still interested in this program, please let us know. We can help them either the phone or just give us a call, and we can help them process their application. And then if you want to get the flyers, we have them available in English, Spanish, and Hmong. So let us know, and we can also provide those flyers to you as well. Next slide. I think that might be it. Okay, awesome. Thank you so much, Ryan. If anyone has any questions or would like to get any of these flyers or want more information about these events, please let us know and we'll get you that info.
Thank you so much, Zong, for joining us tonight.
Thank
I'm
you.
not seeing any questions or comments or hands raised. I do see that Delia provided clarification that the location is close to Sunnyside High School. Other than that, I'm not seeing anything. Anyone else have any questions or comments before we transition?
A mí, sí soy yo, soy Lilia.
Me,
Buenas
this
noches.
is Lilia. Good evening.
Pues
Good
como
evening.
siempre me gustaría la información que
As
están
usual, I would like to get the information that you're providing so we
comunidad.
can distribute it with the
Muy
community.
importante, ya
It is
que
very
estamos hablando
important
de
because we're talking
algo que está
about
cercano al área.
something that is
Este,
close
sí
to
nos
our
gustaría que, por
area.
favor, si
So
nos
we
pueden
would
proveer
like
los
you to
panfletos
please
para poder compartir,
provide
por favor.
those documents so we can share them. Thank you.
You got it, Lilia. We'll get it to you.
Muchas gracias.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Zong.
You're welcome. Thanks.
I did a big song. I went out of order with the presentations, and it's just great to see how flexible Zong is, and she's always up for the tasks and very, very accommodating. So thanks a lot, Zong.
No worries. You threw me for a second. That's why I went and grabbed water. But thank you.
I was testing her, and she passed with flying colors.
Thanks.
Thanks, Ryan. All right, so since we're a little bit out of order, we'll go back to other non-incentive measure updates and listen to some feedback from the CSC about next steps.
Now we're going to talk about the non-incentive measures, I promise. So the different measures that we're going to cover were outreach, enforcement, permitting, rural development, land use, and then kind of touched on it last month, but looking ahead to year 6 for these measures and what that may look like. What we're planning on it looking like, I should say. So just kind of as a reminder to everybody, the SERP, according to the state law, was intended to be a 5-year plan. The district adopted the South Central Fresno SERP CARB adopted the SERP in February of 2020. And so just right around the corner, February 2025, we're going to hit 5 years working together. And so really the goal of this presentation is just to understand where we're at with all those non-incentive measures, highlight the progress that we've made on them, and how we're going to transition us into year 6 and continue to work on all those. I appreciate, yes, Lilia, you're right. All of us deserve an applause. You heard the number 70 meetings. That's a huge time commitment. I know many of you are original community steering committee members that have, attended all or almost all of these meetings. And I know we also added an infusion of newer members who, joined us and brought in additional enthusiasm and excitement and, additional community perspective and feedback. So it's a lot to be proud and happy about. So some of the specific measures we're getting the communities involved in clean air efforts. How do we educate people, make them aware of things, to get them not only to be participants, but also share the information with their friends, their neighbors, and their family. How do we inform and educate people about community air quality? How do we go about doing it in a better manner? How do we improve working with schools? How do we prevent idling of heavy-duty vehicles within the community? And how do we make people aware that that burning, trash and other materials is not legal, and work with them to stop those activities. So kind of touched on a little bit, the outreach and communications team and the community strategies and resources team have been in the community. That's how you do it. You do it through feet on the ground in the communities, whether it's at schools, whether it's at community events. Really appreciate Lilia and others who have made us more aware of events and brought us to them, giving us invites, making those are all the ways that we were able to see improvements, and we definitely are. The community steering committee helped us have better relationships with school board members, and gave us a better opportunity to work with the school districts to such that they invite us. They want us there when we ask them if we can come to their school. They're eager as opposed to telling us no, we don't want you to come there. And that's tremendous growth in collaboration and relationship building that happened as a result. And just a few examples. I think more than any of the words that I can express, actually seeing people in the communities. I've heard CSC members sharing appreciation for Zong and Nancy and others attending their events, and how important that was, and how big of an impact it was on the community. One of the really big thing too is we have some of the most stringent rules and regulations anywhere in the country. I shouldn't say most. We have the most stringent rules and regulations anywhere in the country. But rules and regulations are only good if you're out there enforcing them. And so, one of the things that the collective community steering committee wanted was additional resources put to enforcing those rules and regulations. And some of the commitments were doing more inspections at facilities when they had emissions violations. If a facility had an emissions violation, working with them to determine what the main cause for that violation, providing them education, providing that facility resources, so that way they don't have future violations. But at the same time, going out there more frequently to make sure that they are doing what is necessary to prevent violations from happening and emissions from getting in the air. That means more staff going out and looking for illegal burning that may be happening. And that's through a lot of different ways. It's through the complaints that we receive from people focusing on that area. It's through providing brochures to areas where we are hearing about illegal burning taking place and trying to educate people to prevent those actions or prevent those people from burning. All those things make a big impact. It's the enhanced enforcement of the anti-idling. So the state has a regulation that says heavy-duty trucks can't idle in certain areas, and can only idle for certain amounts of time, and it has to be so far away from where people live. It was working with the California Air Resources Board and doing sweeps of areas on a regular basis, looking to see if people were doing that. Yeah, Estella, I see your hand up.
Y nada más quería dar un comentario I only would like to share a comment about the wood burning. I've seen that the empty lots or maybe the alleys, the homeless people have been burning paper or maybe trash, and that's where sometimes we have to just watch a little more to see that they're not burning any trash or maybe wood. Sometimes they're cooking like that and they're burning trash or whatever. And that's my comment that I wanted to share.
No, I appreciate that, Estella. That's an issue that everybody in Fresno is facing, and not even just in Fresno. It's across the valley, and we do have we have a significant number of people that are experiencing homelessness that are unhoused, and they use fire to cook. They use fire for other purposes. Just a couple days ago, right outside our office, we had that exact situation happen, and we had to call the fire department and have them come out and extinguish that. A lot of the methods that we're able to take for people that are burning illegally, they aren't, I'll be honest with you, they're not effective when it comes to unhoused people experiencing homelessness. It is one of typically what happens would be we'd be able to, if we cited someone, they would get a notice of violation, and there would be a monetary penalty associated with that. And we definitely work with people. We can provide them an opportunity to go to compliance school to get some of the monetary portion reduced and working with people. But that's the main way that we change people's behavior. Unfortunately, that doesn't work with the people experiencing homelessness. They don't we can't send them a notice of violation. There's no means for them to pay any penalties or anything like that. So what we do is we work with the fire departments where we're seeing that, and we talk with them, and when it's within the city limits, they pass some ordinances. But that's I think right now is the only way for us to really address it is working with the local law enforcement, working with the fire departments. But yeah, it's a real challenge, and we understand the impacts. I mean, just talking to someone and they had their fence burned down, as a result of someone unhoused burning right behind it, and set their fence on fire. And it's just there's in addition to the health impacts from breathing in smoke from the fire, there's also the monetary costs to those people that may have their property damaged or destroyed as a result of it. Yeah, one of the most health protective rules that we have is the enforcement of the wood burning curtailment. So I'm sure, as all of you know, we're 20 days into the wood burning curtailment season, and so far, I'm like these first 20 days overall, it has been some of the cleanest that we've seen, and so hopefully that trend continues. But when there are curtailments out there, we have the staff have commitments to do 4 hours of surveillance on those days, and we try to break it up in mornings and in evenings to try to hopefully our presence out there, people know about it, and the word is getting out there, and so people are more mindful to check to see if they can burn or if they can't. And then lastly was the enhanced enforcement of fugitive dust requirements. And this is where we have a list of all the projects that are required to submit work dust control plans with us. And so it's commitments by projects where they're gonna use water, use other dust suppression methods in order to decrease fugitive dust. And so we confirm that they're doing that, but at the same time, we're also driving around looking for projects that may be required for something similar, but maybe not have it. And so then we work with them to get one of those submitted and follow that if that is the case. So the numbers matter, and so overall, 1,817 facility inspections have been conducted. 470 hours of focused anti-island surveillance was performed. Over 1,800 hours of surveillance for wood burning curtailments and 257 hours for illegal burning of residential waste. And so just it's a lot of time in looking at these. And these are just some of the numbers. This is just like the added. This isn't necessarily even including the other things that we do within the community, like complaint response and just our normal everyday responsibilities in the community. Commitments on the development of permits and rules. There were really two things that were mainly focused on was the expedited facility risk assessment and risk reduction. Yeah, see, Naimeen, you have your hand up.
Yeah, well, I just want to bring a conversation back to what was previously discussed about the land use and all that, and the frustration that many of us have felt because that's not moving forward. It seems to be going backwards. And multiple times in terms of rules, we have asked here and in other places to the Air District if and when the indirect source rule will be up to, revise or whatever the name is that you call it. Because, you just said you have the most stringent rules in the nation and you were the one to approve this first. But now we're falling behind South Coast. And if we don't do anything about it, we're going to continue to be inundated with warehouses, magnet centers that will make all these incentives and all this progress that we have achieved like zero, like close to nothing compared to the increased pollution that the South Fresno is experiencing because we don't have more stringent rules.
Yeah, thanks for bringing that up, Naimeen. And that is definitely something you'll see later on. Like we have commitments, like specifically about that we're going to continue to engage with you on rural development issues. Not within the last few months, one of the big things with the South Coast regulation was we were waiting to see what was going to happen with the court. There was several lawsuits that were filed, and then in addition to that, waiting to see EPA take action. And so those things have all happened. And so our team is looking at that very closely. And so any rural development that will take place, we will be sure to involve all the community steering committees in those processes. I know this is probably very, very tiny writing, and I'm not expecting anybody to read this, but there are, when we started this process, we had a commitment to evaluate 40 of our rules to see if there were opportunities to strengthen those rules. And through that, we received a lot of feedback from steering committee members, and we did end up amending numerous rules as a direct result of that. So much community feedback. I think some of the most impactful ones are the biomass rule, the glass melting rule, engine rules, boiler rules. Those are all pieces of equipment that operate directly in the South Central community. And so all those rules had more stringent requirements. So that means we place requirements on the facility to lower emissions from those pieces of equipment, from those rules. And the rule puts in timelines that the facility has to do it. So it's not a situation where the facility can just wait until they're going to make a modification to then that at that time they'd be subject. It was actually no, like here's a timeline. By this timeline, you have to put in cleaner equipment. And so that was as a result of this process that it forced all districts to, speed up the process at which they did all of that, and, to get those emission reductions sooner in those communities. I talked a little bit about the expedited risk assessment. That's another thing that has to happen. So there were 352 facilities that were subject to the requirement and that had to be reviewed for the toxic emissions that are associated with them. And if any of them triggered any additional review, fortunately, the analysis that we performed, none of the facilities triggered any of that additional review to date. So we talked about it, land use commitments, and a lot of the different things that we were talking about. Collaborating to enhance community participation in land use processes, education and outreach on available tools for the public, how they can be more connected in the city's processes. Looking to support projects that reduce vehicle miles traveled within the community. Working with the city of Fresno to strengthen the relationship with the agencies that have land use and transportation authority, and then providing assistance during any California Environmental Quality Act processes. Those are the land use processes that have to take in all the different considerations for any proposed projects to make sure that as a result of those projects, there won't be a negative impact to any area. So, as Ms. mentioned, we started a land use subcommittee, which directly led to the email notification system to alert community members of planning projects. And hopefully every single community steering committee member here tonight is on that email listserv. And if you're not, let us know and we'll add your name. If you have friends, family, people acquaintances that have an interest, we can add their names to that as well. It's really about connecting residents and community members to those processes. We had trainings that the city of Fresno came and presented on the different ways in which residents can be more connected to what the city is doing. The Fresgo app is a great tool and resource to get access to City of Fresno services. If there's issues in communities, if there's graffiti, if there's garbage, if there's these other things, using those resources. My understanding is it's very prompt response to all of those. Dr. Curry, I see your hand.
Yeah, thank you. I just want to note that none of these are really proactive, and that part of the goal or part of the hope is that we would not be at a point where the community is always reacting to what the city has already decided, and that part of the land use discussions would really be considering sort of how do we get to a place where there's a discussion before projects are committed, and that they would respect the fact that if you have an overburdened community, that you need to look somewhere else for the placement of facilities that would continue to pollute places. And so all of this is fine, but it just really is just reactionary. And so letting people know that there is something that's already in the works doesn't give people an opportunity to suggest placement of other places. It doesn't suggest that residents have any other say-so other than to be responsive after something's already started.
Yeah. So Dr. Curry, going back to the first one, the email notification system, that's the earliest, that's as soon as these projects are even being considered, these notifications go out. So in terms of being proactive, I think that's the most proactive you can be. I mean, this is as soon as the city is getting these projects and they're putting these out to notice for people to look at them and to provide feedback. I mean, that's to me is the most proactive way you can be.
Yeah, I hear what you're saying, and I understand that proaction means lots of different things to lots of different people. I would just suggest that the idea that the community just gets to be notified when there's something coming to their area, whether or not it's going to be of community benefit or not, is not necessarily the most proactive way. Proactive could also mean that if you look at a community and see that it's already overburdened, that there is a movement to suggest that the city and other entities will look somewhere else to place these things because we already know that pollutions are overburdened. And so proaction would mean that we actually shift the way that we are thinking about where some of these entities can go, rather than notify the community when there's yet another potential stationary source of pollution that's going to be sited in someone's backyard. So I get what you're saying, that proaction is that they're letting us know earlier. I'm suggesting that that's not proactive enough, that we're not hitting.
That's definitely a challenging one, Dr. And I can just, over the years, I mean, I had heard about projects that were thinking about going in the AB 617 community, but ultimately didn't. And, you know, some of the feedback I got was, you know, part of it was because it was in an AB 617 community and some of the hurdles that they were going to have to go through, you know, didn't make sense for them to move forward with those projects. But at the same time, that's not something that I can, like, you know, because some of that, like the paperwork didn't show up at the city, and then it didn't go through a process where, you know, it was shown that it was because of AB 617 that we can then point to it and say, well, this project didn't move forward because of AB 617. But I think there were definitely projects like that that didn't, you know, end up looking to be placed there because of AB 617. But like I said, it's harder, you know, to quantify and to demonstrate that. Yeah, definitely. Yeah.
Just a comment, Ryan, from Lilia, that
Yeah.
it's also about working more effectively, and she's bringing the attention to folks being able to call 311 if they're unable to use the Fresno Go. I don't know if you have more context for that.
I'll be honest with you, I've never used 311. I shouldn't say never. I mean, I definitely used it when I was younger.
Ryan, this is Loopy with the City of Fresno. What was the question about the 311? Maybe I can help.
As a way to, Lupa, this is Amy, as a way to have residents call the city to potentially, like, if they have opinions about or recommendations about some of the alerts that come out from the notification system. How would you encourage community to use 311?
The 311 is really more for issues related to problems that they're having within the city, for, like Brian said, if you see illegal dumping or things like that, that you could probably use 311 they would refer that person to planning, you know, to the planning department, or if they've heard about a project or something that maybe they didn't see on the if they weren't notified about it, they could probably call 311 to that, and that comment or concern could be referred over to planning. Planning has also has a direct line that they can email to if there's questions. So 311, they could probably do that, and it would be referred over to the planning department. I can follow up with Ryan later and pass along that email, because I'm not sure I have it right in front of me to give it to you, but we can share that, and Ryan can share it with the committee.
Great. We'll add that as an action item. Really appreciate it, Lupe.
Yeah, no problem.
Thank you.
All right. You know, inviting the city to be a part of the community steering committee, and like Lupe here tonight, and giving updates from the city. And then the district still meets with the city to talk about projects. And you know, when we're thinking of projects, we're thinking about you know, ways in which projects can be mitigated, especially in terms of the air quality emissions for any projects that we're getting. And that's the feedback that we're always giving to them, is making sure that any and all forms of mitigation measures where things like vegetative barriers or where trucks may be staged to get that as far away from where people live, and that those are always being considered and included as part of projects. So kind of the last thing is just where do we go from here on these measures? And so in addition to the incentive ones, we talked about last month transitioning to quarterly CSC meetings and looking to check in on the continued progress on all the different measures. These meetings would still be stipend eligible for resident members. That would continue because they would still be considered community steering committee meetings. We would continue to provide updates on the community air monitoring and what we're seeing from that data. We continue to update all of the SERP tracker and the quarterly enforcement and air monitoring reports would continue to go out all the community steering committee members. And we'll still continue to provide information through email listservs, specifically for, and this touches on what Naimeen was asking. In addition to providing these emails, we would also use those meetings as opportunities to talk about some of those things, like any rule development and once rule development processes have started. Looking to get feedback. We're going to continue to work with all the schools, and please continue to provide us events for us to attend and connect with residents. It's been such an important part of this, and there have been so many inroads that have been made and connections made, and just it's so important that the people that are being most impacted know about the agencies that can provide them relief and assistance. We're going to continue to support and continue to perform all the inspections and prioritizing response to complaints that we receive in the community. And we're going to continue to engage with all of you on our planning and rule development processes. I'm putting it out there, Lupi, and based on your attendance at all of our meetings, we're going to continue to work cooperatively with the city of Fresno and with the land use and other things that they're responsible for, and that the steering committee is interested in. So that was my update, and happy to if anybody has any questions or comments, stop sharing, or I guess I'll leave the presentation up if there's any.
Yeah, I guess my question is, how is it determined that we would meet quarterly?
Well, one of the things, so kind of going back to, this was a 5-year program, and so there was always I think what everybody thought in the beginning across the state was 5 years, and then that would basically be it. And we don't believe that's the case. We know that there's still work, and so we didn't want to stop having meetings altogether. And so it was like, well, what how can we still be involved and continue to work with all the committees? And in addition to that, there have been these other communities that are called the consistently nominated communities for AB 617 that have also been asking for resources. And there have been a lot of groups that have been submitting what are called local community emission reduction plans, that they're looking for our time and our resources to help them put those together. So we have a lot more work that we're going to be engaging in, and so we didn't want to stop having meetings altogether, because we still have things that we need to accomplish and get done.
And is the Fresno Air District or the San Joaquin Valley Air District the first entity to move to a quarterly meeting schedule in the state?
No. South Coast, pretty much all their meetings have always been quarterly.
I'm sorry, who is this?
South Coast Air Quality Management District.
Okay.
And then, other districts we've talked to, they're pulling back. There's the one really interesting thing about this program is there was not a one size fits all approach to this. Every community was different. And so the level of involvement with the air district for some of them is going to be pulled back. A lot fewer people participating and involved in different processes. Some started right away with only having quarterly meetings. So, yeah.
And has the state provided a memo or an advisory on how air districts are to move forward beyond year 6?
No. So, I mean, that was like one of the things that we're trying to balance. Like I said, I think collectively across the state, we all came to the understanding that all of us still have work to do in those first year communities. So none of the communities are stopping, like having community steering committees, but all of them are pulling back, and it's transitioning to a different look. It doesn't mean that the work itself, it's going to stop. That's kind of why we're going through what those commitments would look like moving forward. But like I said, there's a lot of other communities across the valley that are also looking for resources and assistance. And so, we also need to, look to assist those communities as well.
So is the desire that these funds that have been expensed for AB 617 would go to benefit other communities outside the boundary?
So in terms of the incentive dollars, the commitments, the $45 million, no, that's still with Fresno. But we need to work together to spend those funds. There were time limits that were placed on that. That's why we always feel a need to bring back to the steering committee ways in which to make adjustments in order to hopefully get the funds spent within the Fresno boundary. But no, we're not looking to take that money and apply it. That being said, we don't just get funding for the 4 communities. We get additional community air protection incentives that we put towards benefiting not only those 4 communities but other communities.
So for clarity, these dollars will not be expensed in non-boundary communities bound by AB 617.
The SERP commitment, those incentive dollars will not.
Well, not what? I didn't hear you. I'm sorry, your phone went out or your connection was bad.
Oh, sorry. No, we would not move those funds. The only way we would is, and that's, full transparency. I mean, that's why we work with you. I mean, we have to spend those funds. The last thing we want to do is have to give money back to the state, in which case it doesn't benefit anybody in the valley. So we're not at that point. We still kind of outlined how we're going to work with you over the next year to try to spend all those funds. But right now, there's going to be no shifting of those funds to any other area.
Gotcha. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Jennifer from CARB, this is Amy. I see your comment. Do you want to go ahead and contextualize that comment from the chat?
Hi, thanks, Amy. Yeah, my Zoom update, I have no idea where the raised hand button is. This is Jennifer, everybody from CARB. I just wanted to go ahead and address Eric's comment. Ryan is correct. There is no memo on what year 6 looks like, and that is something that management is aware that many of these communities is approaching the end of year 5. So this is something I can definitely bring back to management and they can look into as far as what the next steps can look like. So I just wanted to make sure that I addressed that comment one way or another.
So
Thank you.
just so CARB is a Teams base. They use Microsoft Teams, and so it's always
Yes.
a tough transition when you're not used to that. So under the React, the icon, if you
Oh, okay. Well, I think when you were sharing your screen, when I went there, there was nothing for me to do. So I think that's what it was. But now I
okay,
can. Now I see it here. Thank you.
all right, great.
Yeah, thank you for that, Jennifer. I think any direction that CARB could provide our region would be helpful for us to determine how and what would be best in moving forward to dissolve our commitments with our CERT plan and state funding.
Yeah, absolutely. And yeah, as Ryan also did mention, a lot of communities have actually been quarterly this whole time. So it's quite a transition. So some started quarterly and then went to monthly. Some started monthly and then went back to quarterly. So it ranges per community. But yeah, I will definitely take that back to management. Thanks, Eric.
Thank you for your questions, Eric, and thank you, Jennifer, for providing that context. We look forward to any other context that you can provide. And also want to remind folks that there is some comments and sections in the Blueprint 2.0 that provide suggestions. Again, no directive, but there are some suggestions for folks to read. And I would encourage CSC members to look at the Blueprint 2.0. Ryan, I don't know if you can put back that last slide to see if we have any questions or suggestions from other CSC members about what this would look like beyond the 5th year. Thank you. Just want to pause for a second to see if other folks have any questions or comments. Okay, not seeing any at this time. So we're going to go ahead and transition to our standing updates. Sorry, Ryan, you're on the hot seat again. So I do have a note for you to provide an update on PM 2.5 standard. Your audio is muted right now.
On my audio. Don't worry, I may be slow, but I get there. So Natalie had asked for an update. So several months ago, or I should say at the beginning of the year, a new PM 2.5 standard came out for 9 micrograms. And so Natalie kind of put it out there, what's the district's plan? There's a lot of work that goes into it's a numerous year process that basically just started. The regions have to designate what they're going to be for that standard, and then that has to get approved, and then so there's a lot that's going to go on. So we began our rule development process for regulatory commitments in the plan and plans to schedule workshops in the upcoming months. The incentive-based commitments are being implemented, including low dust harvesters and fireplace changeouts, and we're going to continue work in the coming year to start quantifying the changeouts and associated reductions. It's all part of the planning process that has to go into the evaluation of this standard. And so the ongoing work to evaluate further study measures that we would look at or consider, that's going to be coming or going to take place over the next several years. It's not It's something that in the next 6 to 8 months that we're going to have a plan that we're going to be presenting. It's a lot longer than that. But similar to what was in the presentation in the slides, that's all going to be information that we're going to keep the steering committee well aware of. Hola, Anita, ¿cómo estás? Sorry.
You all are busy over at the Air District today.
The wonderful ladies that clean the office are here and are.
Thank you. Any questions about that before we transition to providing some updates about our next in-person meeting? Okay, Nancy, take it away.
This is Nancy again. Hi, everybody. I just wanted to provide you all with a quick update regarding the in-person CSC meeting for January. It's going to be on January 15th. And so I am looking into 2 facilities to host the in-person CSC meeting, one of them being the Fresno City College West Fresno Center, and the other would be the Mary Ella Brown Center. And of course, as soon as I hear back from the Fresno City College, this will all be included in the draft agenda. And so I'm hoping that we really get to go experience and just go, check out the Fresno City College West Fresno Center, just because I know that there's been, this has been a choice or, by some of the committee. And so, yeah, I'm hoping that we get this, and I am going to be continue to work on meeting logistics. And so, plan to hear back with more details in December. Thank you.
Thank you, Nancy. And just to confirm, we are not having our December meeting.
Correct. No December meeting.
So you'll follow up via email in December.
Correct. We will go ahead and do a sending updates email in December, just since we will not be having one.
Wonderful. And we'll review this at the end of the meeting, but just wanted to clarify that point there in case folks dropped off. Thank you so much for that update. And I will plug, we are definitely looking for a community co-host. So if you're interested in being a co-host for the in-person meeting, please do reach out to the Air District or to our facilitation team. And we would love to partner with you to help ensure that the agenda reflects the priorities of the CSC. Kimberly will do it, on it, signed up. Thank you so much, Kimberly. Okay, well, I'm going to pass it to Carb. I see Jennifer's here still. So Jennifer, any other general updates that you'd like to provide?
Hi, Amy. Yeah, thanks. This is Jennifer once again. Real quick, I just wanted to remind everybody that the AB 617 Community Air Protection Consultation Group is still accepting applications. That deadline was extended to December 13th. So if you have not already submitted it, please go ahead and do so. And then lastly, there is a board meeting tomorrow happening. I believe it'll be virtual as well. I'll paste the info in the chat. And the topics will be, or the main topic is the public meeting to consider the approval of the proposed fiscal year 24-25 funding plan for clean transportation incentives. So if you're available, please check it out. I believe it starts at 9. So I will post that in the chat. Thank you.
Thank you, Jennifer. Next, we're going to hear from City of Fresno. Lupe, take it away.
Good evening. Sorry, I'm having trouble with my system over here. So for those of you who don't know who I am, I'm Lupe Perez. I'm a project liaison for the City of Fresno, and I was asked by my colleagues to attend the meeting this evening since there was a conflict when this meeting was rescheduled. So first and foremost, I want to congratulate everybody. I used to attend these meetings a little bit ago, and I really enjoyed the annual report. Ryan, thank you. So it's good to see some of the work that's been done. So congratulations to everyone in the committee. As far as as Brian indicated earlier, during the annual report, the city, the health study for the truck route reroute study was completed. However, since the passing of Assembly Bill 98, city has pressed pause for a bit to really evaluate how the bill affects study and what next steps should be taken. So I would just say with that, there isn't a date identified for the truck route study to go to council yet until further evaluations has been done on the bill. I know that today there was a meeting that the League of Cities put out there regarding the AB 98. There was a seminar for municipalities to really be able to unpack the bill and discuss policies and procedures. So I, believe that staff will be coming back with additional information not too far into the future.
Thank you, Lupe. I do see a question from Naomi. Go ahead, Naomi.
Thank you, Lupe. Long time no seen.
I know.
I'm glad to see the name on the screen.
I'm still here. I'm still here at the city, so feel free to reach out to me if you have any questions.
The bill that you were referring to and explain why is that going to have an impact on the rerouting study?
So I am not an expert on it yet. I heard about it when it was passed in September, but it affects truck routes, if I'm not mistaken. And I think there's some questions about it. I can't get into the details because I didn't get a chance today to attend the meeting to learn more about it. But I know it affects how the truck studies are. And maybe Ryan, you may know a little bit more about it that you can answer that question. I'll throw it to you.
Thanks, Loopy. No, it's called, I dropped a link into the chat for this. It deals with warehouses and it puts some requirements on land use authorities. And so I know there's a lot of discussion happening at the city, county level on how to address this. And so, yeah, it deals with, in addition to warehouses, I mean, it's the vehicles and everything else. So, this was kind of a last minute bill that came up. It wasn't, it didn't go through kind of like the normal processes where, you see it early in the year and then it kind of made its way. Like we really didn't see it until like about a month before.
It was like the Garden Amendment situation.
Pardon me?
No, I was asking if it was one of the bills that are introduced through Garden Amendment. So there's a spot bill at the beginning, and then if that bill dies,
there was a spot bill, correct?
Yes. So I just pulled it up really quick, and it just it says it prescribes various statewide warehouse design build standards for any proposed new or expanded logistics use developments. So, and then there's other standards that go along with design, location, parking, loading bays, landscaper buffers, a lot of what this committee has been talking about, right? So again, staff is evaluating all of that to see if that impacts the track study, and if so, how do we make those changes and other things, and the way we currently evaluate projects. So
yeah, it's an important bill and it's a big bill, and it's definitely probably worthwhile to take a look at it.
Thank you, Lupe, for providing those updates.
You're welcome.
This is Amy. Okay, well, we're going to transition to wrapping up today's meeting. I'm going to have Liz share her screen so that we can see our next steps. So
give me 1 second. Thank you.
Yeah, as you know, we take notes and document action items as part of our progress towards accountability during the implementation of AB 617. So we did take some action items based on what you shared today. We do take these live as we're facilitating. So if you see any recommended changes to what we have written here, please do let us know, and we're happy to correct the narrative.
Thank you, Amy. So the first action item we have is the Air District will schedule a meeting time with interested CSC members to develop agenda items for reviving the Land Use Subcommittee. Next, the Air District will coordinate with Valley Can to send the CSC an email update with answers to questions about PG&E incentives for electric vehicle charging and charging infrastructure concerns. Next, the CSC will submit any comments or feedback to the Air District for the annual report by December 2nd. Next, the Air District will provide interested CSC members with outreach flyers and materials for upcoming events. Next, the City of Fresno will provide information for who to contact with any land use planning questions and concerns. And lastly, a CARB representative, Jennifer, will check with her team regarding what year 6 would look like for CERP communities and share back any additional context with the CSE. And so those were all the action items that we captured, but as Amy mentioned, we're capturing these live, so if we missed anything, please do let us know. And also, if we mischaracterized any of the action items and you would like to make any changes, now is the time. Okay. I'm not seeing any, so I will stop sharing my screen. And I believe the last thing I will share on my screen for you all is just the slide with our last meeting date, our next meeting date. And here we go. Well, actually, I realize that there is an error on this slide, but it should say January 15th, which is a Wednesday. And so, as was mentioned earlier, this is hoping to be an in-person meeting. You heard a couple different locations that are possible. So we will be sending out more communication closer to the event, and we will be working with Kimberly, our wonderful volunteer co-host, to develop that agenda. So I will stop sharing my screen and pass it back to Amy to wrap us up.
Thank you so much, Liz. And if you have any recommendations for the Air District about locations or food, I know folks had raving reviews about the food last time. Please do direct your recommendations to Nancy. At this time, we're opening it up to public comment or any updates from any CSC member, anything else that folks would like to share before we wrap up tonight's meeting. Naomi.
Yes, so I think it was a few meetings back that I mentioned that even though in our community air monitoring plan, neither CARB or the Air District or DPR were able to, implement a pesticide monitoring effort. And I announced that CCGN through a set fund was able to do it, and the monitors were installed this past Monday. There's going to be 14 weeks of data collection, then followed by another 14 weeks during the spring because there's applications in the winter, but also in the spring. So I wanted to ask if this committee would like to get some, results of preliminary data that will be collected, and also Sonoma Technology, that is our partner leading this effort, develop a great dashboard where you can see a lot of the pesticide applications in the county, but with a specific focus on the area where we're doing the monitoring. So it doesn't have to be January because maybe it's going to be a packed agenda, but just putting it on the table if this committee is interested in that.
This is Amy. Thank you, Naomi. We will write that down. Sounds like that might be a potential additional agenda item for January or for a separate meeting. And we'll make sure to get community input for that. Other suggestions, comments? Okay, well, that wraps up our 70th meeting. I hope everyone spends a safe holiday and can unplug. We won't see you until next year in 2026. It feels so early to say that already, but since we won't be seeing each other in December, we will see you in the new year. Have a wonderful rest of your year and rest of your evening, and we'll talk soon. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks. Happy holidays, everyone.
Thank you. Good night.
Good night.